Welcome to the Creative Visionaries Podcast. My name is Tori Barker, a digital marketing specialist, business owner, mom, and you guessed it, a creative visionary. This podcast is about inspiring business owners, building connections, sharing success stories, and motivating others. Join me on this journey as we tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again on the Creative Visionaries Podcast. Today, I have a very exciting guest, Carly Cais. Carly is a marketing and growth expert for B2B SaaS companies and is the founder and CEO of REVVSPARK, an agency that helps B2B SaaS and service companies scale with conversion content. She is known as an online conversion expert and is currently working on her first book, due to be published early 2023. Carly, welcome on the show.
Thanks so much, Tori. I'm really excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about you and tell us about REVVSPARK.
So I've actually been in marketing for over 20 years at this point. Before I even knew it was marketing, way back in the day in 2001, I started building websites just because the internet was so new and it was just something fun to do. And my first website that I built was actually a My Little Pony flipping site.
I love that.
Way back in the day. And that was my first taste of being an online entrepreneur. And I started building websites for other people after that, and eventually worked in B2C marketing. And then switched over to B2B in 2014 and started working in B2B SaaS the next year, and really dove into growth marketing and sales enablement. So for the last 7 years, that's really been where I've focused, and I've worked with a lot of companies early stage to get them to their first million in ARR and their annual recurring revenue and beyond. And so really that's a lot of my expertise is taking companies from kind of zero to that stage. And then eventually last year, I founded my own business to really provide that outside help for companies that are wanting to scale, that maybe don't yet have a marketing lead in place, that really need outsourced marketing help. But we don't just focus on marketing, not just the front end. It is content and copywriting to create that customer journey from completely cold to prospect, to lead, to opportunity, to closed customer, and then to expanded account. So even customer success kind of content. So it's all the way through to make sure all the touch points in that buyer's journey are very consistent, so the prospect has the same experience with your company, no matter where they are in the funnel.
Yeah, that's so important. Somebody mentioned to me something the other day about branding, and it ties into like this full circle client journey. And they're talking about branding as like if I was to print out a copy of your email marketing, of your business card, of your brochures, of your website, would it all look consistent? Would it all have the same look and feel? And that's the same thing with content. Like whatever part of the journey or part of the funnel or whatever it is that you want to call it, whatever part you're in, is that consistent from from start to finish? And so it's so important to have that content consistency and just can't agree more.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of companies, especially in the SaaS world, there's a lot of talk about misalignment between sales and marketing, where the marketing message that people have received on the front end, as soon as the sales team takes over, all of a sudden it's a very different experience. And so what we do is we ensure that experience is seamless for everybody who's encountering your company and your brand, especially as we're entering this phase of consumers really wanting to self-serve from a company's website, download the product, use it, try it out in a freemium kind of version. Having that very consistent experience is absolutely key, because that will create raving fans for your product, people who actually pay money on the back end versus people who just download it, never use it, throw it away. So we really want to create that.
Awesome. And so you mentioned a couple times SaaS companies. So for those who don't know, can you explain what a SaaS company is?
Yeah, sure. So it's software as a service. It technically the first SaaS company out there was Salesforce, which is now a mega huge CRM company out there. And so it's software that lives in the cloud. I'm sure all of us are very familiar and use SaaS software every day. I mean, Zoom is one,
Yeah. Even if we don't know
Gmail's
it, we're
another.
using it.
You are using it for sure. It drives so much of what we do nowadays. And so really technology, that is our specialty, as well as B2B services businesses.
Yeah. And how did you get into SaaS as kind of a niche company market for you?
Yeah, I kind of fell into it. It was it just was the timing, and I was just applying to jobs, and I did have a very big B2C background, but I had been running websites for a while, and so it just so happened that there was a job open at a SaaS company locally that was looking for someone to run all of their marketing, including their website. So it was the timing, and I found that I just really love it. I've always been kind of a tech junkie, so I've really enjoyed being able to figure out how to convey value for something that maybe isn't tangible. And
Yeah.
software is something that isn't exactly tangible, so the marketing and the messaging, the positioning, and
Mm.
the total value outcome that a company receives, that's really key to bring into everything. And that's
Yeah.
what I really love. It is a challenge, and services, B2B services, very similar, non-tangible, really have to convey value of outcome. And so that's what I really love, conveying the non-tangible through
Yeah.
what I do.
That's amazing. I love that. So in one of your kind of superpowers, you talk about this conversion content. So can you talk specifically and kind of explain what is conversion content? I know we've talked a little bit about it, like having the right messaging, but is there something specific that makes your content conversion higher, or can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So what kind of has happened in the evolution of growth marketing over the last 20 years or so has been this understanding of, okay, if we want to rank on Google, we need to be able to put a lot of content out there to get traffic, right? We have to game those search engine results, right? And so there have been a lot of companies that help you generate very large amounts of articles in order to create backlinks, to create that traffic to your website.
Right.
The problem is, in the last 5 to 7 years or so, companies are beginning to realize that even though they're getting traffic to their website, they're not doing anything. The
Mm.
traffic is bouncing out because they're seeing this sort of top level, vague, generic article that's been put out there by non-experts. And it's like, if you think about, maybe let's say you want to buy a car, and you're looking at maybe Honda, and you think, okay, I want to buy a Honda Civic, and you're Googling things. The one article you might find is, what is a car? And that's kind of this example of this high level content that's just very basic. It doesn't really answer your needs and your questions and your pain points. And yes, you might eventually click on over to a website, but
Yeah.
if you don't see what it is that you need, anything that addresses your pain points, you're going to bounce right out of there. And so all of that work to create all that traffic is lost
Yeah.
because they're not getting captured when they come into your digital properties website, landing
Hmm.
page, they click on an ad. The experience sometimes falls apart, and you can see these websites with these high bounce rates. You have all this digital traffic coming in, and then it goes. So
Yeah.
what we really specialize in is harnessing traffic, getting
Mm.
it to the website in the first place. Yes, we do that, but we specialize in creating articles and content that are really answering those pain points. So again, like say a VP of marketing is looking for a technology software. Maybe they're really interested in a marketing automation platform that could replace HubSpot, for
Yeah.
instance. So they're not going to be Googling what is a marketing automation platform. That kind of
We're already
that
past
kind
that. Yeah.
we're way past that. It's more like, what are the operational costs of owning HubSpot, and how can I reduce operational load on my team? Like
Yeah.
that is a much more specific pain point that a VP of marketing might have,
Mm.
because they'd want to know dollar for dollar value. Why is Pardot better? Or why is, Drip better
Mm.
than HubSpot? And so you really need to get down to competitive product comparison and very specific pain points. And so this is where we really specialize in capturing those pain points from your target market and reflecting them in your website, your landing
Mm.
pages, your ads, to make sure that all of that search intent is captured, and then they're converted into a subscriber, someone who clicks the Get Demo Now button, or
Hmm.
talk to sales. We really want them to take the next step. So that's why we specialize in conversion content, which converts them to the next step in that buyer journey, whatever that may be.
And so I'm assuming in order to find out the right messaging, you have to do some sort of research, right? So there's got to be like data research, demographic research. What is it that you do to find the information that you know is going to resonate for your clients?
Yeah. So it's going to be those long tail search queries. What's bringing people to your website, as well as competitor websites.
Mm,
What's out there. Talking to people who are in the industry, who are in the sort of the same target market that you're trying to reach, and really trying to distill their pain points and their questions, as well as talking to your team internally, people on the front line who are like salespeople or
yeah,
the customer success people who know those questions that are always in these people's minds that they're
right.
fielding on a day-to-day basis, and making sure bringing that loop back together into what is out there for your company.
Yeah, there's a tool that I've used and have heard other people use is Quora.com.
Yep.
Have you heard of that? Yeah,
Yeah.
so using Quora to find those key terms or search, queries to identify for SEO purposes and content marketing, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool, and honestly, I'm on it every day. And but I'm often down a rabbit hole reading
Oh,
something
yes.
crazy about the evolution of carrots or
Oh,
something
yeah.
crazy like
Something
that.
random. You're like, wait, where did the time go? It's been an hour? Oh, man. Well, and it's funny because you mentioned having content, but not the right content. It's bringing traffic to your website. That made me think about, like, on my end, I do a lot of online advertising and retargeting. And so just thinking about, yes, we're getting traffic to our website, but they're not the right people. And then we're doing retargeting ads to market to the people that aren't the right people. So it's like you need to have all of these pieces working together. So, like you said, you have people who are coming to your website that have the right intention, that are the right audience. So then all the other pieces of marketing tie in together, the online advertising, the retargeting, and just everything comes together, and then it just becomes much more powerful and successful in the long run when you have the key messaging on target so that everything else can work hand in hand. I'm
Absolutely. And you have to keep in mind as well that the people and traffic that you're capturing online, who you're getting that traffic from, they might be at different stages in that buyer journey.
true.
They might be completely cold, or they might be way down the line, almost ready to talk to sales. So I'm a big fan of creating multiple buyers journeys,
Yeah.
multiple entry points to a website, and multiple versions of your messaging to
Mm,
gently nudge them down that path, and
yeah.
make sure that there's always a next step for them to take that we're converting them to, so that we can look at intent and really make sure we're delivering the right message, right time,
Yeah.
and getting them to talk to sales or sign up, something that's appropriate for their level of intent, and
Mm,
not really forcing them to talk to a salesperson, go through a qualification process,
if
do
they're
things
not
that
there.
create a lot of friction, because
Yeah.
nowadays everybody just wants what they want right now. They don't want to have to go through this whole thing. So it's really key that we allow our design, our websites, and the content we're putting out there to provide options. That's really key.
Yeah, definitely. And so when you are creating this content, how do you track the content marketing efforts? Because I know that's a big thing for all SEO or CEOs, leaders, business owners, knowing the traffic and the analytics, or how to track and measure your return on investment. So what do you guys use?
Yeah, for sure. So there's Google Analytics 4, which is super powerful. There's things like Mixpanel, Dream Data, things like
Mm,
that, different tools. We're happy to use whatever the company is using that we're working with. But really, it comes down to conversion percentage.
mm,
So we are interested in, of course, the views and likes. That's important. The visits, all of that. If a company is looking really just for brand awareness, we might stop it there and say, okay, we're able to increase views by X, or get this number of likes or engagements. If they're looking for sales, which usually they are, we start developing numbers that show the conversion percentage to the next stage, and then ultimate conversion percentage to creation of opportunity, creation of closed won business. And that is where we're looking at, because we are looking at that full funnel, we're also looking at customer to maybe upgraded customer or extra features that are added
Yeah.
on. So the businesses we're working with are going to have a pretty robust CRM in place where we can actually look at the analytics in there, and then look at the numbers so that we can show an actual lift over what was there before.
Yeah, I love a good CRM. I know it's so techy, like tech nerd, I'm like, oh, a CRM system. Which one are you using?
I know. Yeah. Don't get me started about CRMs. I've implemented a lot. I've cleaned up a lot, because really a lot of companies don't, they think their CRM is fine, but then they're like, oh, we can't really get any data out. We can't figure what people are doing at different stages. And it's like, it's not fine. We need to work on really reconfiguring this so it reflects
Yeah.
your unique business and make sure that it also reflects the way your buyers want to buy,
Yeah.
and reflects, of course, the marketing funnel. I can't tell you how many CRMs I've seen that actually don't have marketing stages built in because they think, oh, it's a sales tool, let's not build marketing in it. It's like, well,
No.
marketing is full funnel. Like, you
I
have to have
know.
the marketing stuff in as well. Like, you have to know how many leads are you generating, how many sales accepted leads, how many sales qualified leads, like all that stuff has to be there. So, really
Okay.
bringing marketing in is key.
What's your favorite CRM?
Oh man, Salesforce.
Really?
Yeah, I am so old school because that's the one that I learned on, and that's the one I've reconfigured a ton of times. There's some really great down market CRMs that are very robust and really can do the job of a Salesforce. HubSpot is really trying in the CRM space, but I always feel really frustrated because it doesn't have the level of control that I want from an admin
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
It mostly gets there, but HubSpot is really an inbound marketing tool. And so for companies that do outbound sales, lead generation through sales, I
Yeah.
find that HubSpot has some limitations. So I'm always hesitant about HubSpot if I hear that a business's go-to-market strategy is very sales driven. It's like, well, HubSpot may not be the best bet, and
Yeah.
it can get really expensive really quick.
Yeah. I know
So
that's like a whole nother podcast. Talk about CRMs. I'm like, oh man.
for sure. Yeah.
So talking about B2B businesses, do you have like a favorite growth hack for B2B businesses or anything you can share on that end?
Yeah, I'm probably going to surprise a lot of people, and I'm going to say Facebook.
Oh, shock, right?
Yeah. The thing is, I find that with B2B businesses, buyers are, of course, they want to do business on LinkedIn. That is a business platform. As a company, you need to be there. You need to be present. You need to be posting content on LinkedIn. You need to really have your LinkedIn game down. The
Yeah.
thing is, a lot of buyers, B2B buyers, they do spend time on LinkedIn, but they spend about 1/10 of the time that they spend on Facebook on LinkedIn. So if you
Mm,
really want to capture them when they are not thinking about business, when you want to capture them where they're spending the majority of their time, Facebook is a great place to be running ads to direct them to sign up for, say, your LinkedIn webinar, or read an article that you've posted on LinkedIn, because people are, first of all, you're not competing with all of the other businesses out there on
yeah.
LinkedIn, because that is a very expensive platform to advertise on. There's a ton of B2B businesses there. So Facebook, there are not. So it's a great way to cut through the noise, get attention. It's
Yeah.
kind of surprising when you see a B2B ad on Facebook,
Facebook.
but it's a great way to direct people back to LinkedIn where they feel comfortable signing up for that webinar or reading your LinkedIn article. Getting them to convert on LinkedIn is so much easier than conversions on Facebook. So I find that brand awareness on Facebook is, for B2B businesses, actually works incredibly well, just because of how most businesses treat Facebook. They treat
Yeah.
it as, not really a viable channel.
Hmm.
So that's what I'd recommend if you're having some trouble with LinkedIn ads and you're having trouble with cutting through the noise and the spend is just going insane. try Facebook. See if you can target your people, because they have some crazy targeting methods on Facebook, and you can get really granular. It's very
Yeah.
creepy. But you can really get down there and you can capture your audience while on Facebook and get them over on LinkedIn when they feel most comfortable. But you can capture them, capture their attention, and stand out on a platform where not a lot of other people are.
Hmm. So I was a little afraid when you said Facebook, right? Because
I
I'm a
know.
B2B girl too. And so I'm like, LinkedIn is totally where the B2B world is. But I love your point because that's so true. And especially if you're tying the two together, right? Like you're utilizing the Facebook platform to lead them back to the LinkedIn platform, or to lead them to, a point where they're in the business mindset, right? Because on social media, a lot of times it's casual time, social downtime, whatever it might be. And when they're in business mode, they're on LinkedIn. But you're right that they spend more time on Facebook. So brand exposure and redirecting is a huge, huge hack. So I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
So once everyone starts doing that, in 3 months, it'll be dead. So,
Yeah, I know. So
so if
start now.
you're start now, and obviously don't go buying Facebook ads right ahead of a huge holiday or huge, any kind of like election or anything like that, because
Yeah,
the money will just go out the window then.
right.
But you want to be where people not only are, but are paying attention. I
True.
think that's key. And a lot of people do the endless scroll on Facebook much more than they do the endless scroll on LinkedIn.
True.
So,
Yeah, very true. Okay, so let's segue because I want to talk a little bit about being a woman business owner, female business owner, however you want to call it. So I love speaking to other women who own their own business, and so I'd love to just kind of get your feedback and your intake on being a woman business owner. What struggles, successes, goals? What are your dreams? How did you get to this point to becoming a business owner?
yeah, I've always had this entrepreneurial drive to kind of do my own thing and really work with a lot of companies, rather than just one. So I've definitely had that need, as we all know as entrepreneurs, like it's this fire inside of you that you cannot put out, and you have to speak to at some point and say, you know what, I have to do this.
Yeah.
For me, I think the biggest issue was really seeing myself as a CEO,
Mm.
because my whole life I had this image of a CEO as just like this middle-aged guy in a suit. And so like it was just very ingrained. And
Yeah.
so when I founded my own business, originally I thought I can't do it myself. Like I don't have the experience. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I went in with a partner. I founded the business originally as a partnership, because I was so convinced that I couldn't do it myself, because there's no guy in a suit.
Yeah.
And then eventually, my partner and I, we decided to go our separate ways. We had different visions for the business. So she went her separate way. And then I had to relaunch the business as REVVSPARK in January 2021, or I'm sorry, January 2022. So it has been a journey, certainly, but still in my head was this idea that if I'm not a guy in a suit, middle-aged guy in a suit, I can't be a CEO. I felt at any point someone's going to just call me out, or
Yeah.
just point at me and say, so where's the guy in the suit behind you who's
Yeah.
actually running the whole thing? I had a lot of problems calling myself a CEO until finally I just realized, if I say I'm the CEO, I am.
Yeah.
I said it, so what? And I had to really develop that sort of chin out, like, so what? You got a problem with it? Kind of
Yeah.
attitude, as in I say it and therefore I am. I write it
Right.
and therefore it is. And really, really make it legitimized through repeating it over and over, and being visible.
Hmm.
Um, Having it visible, having it in my LinkedIn, having it all over my website, just introducing myself that way. And people believed it. And I was always thinking in the back of my head, but there's no guy in a suit behind me. Like, don't you know? So it was seeing myself as female and as a CEO. And yeah, I have a suit, but I don't wear it very often. I wear a blazer.
Yeah.
But really embracing that identity and being
Hmm.
okay with it not being the image that I'd had in my head so long for as a CEO, and just
Yeah.
being like, I say it and I am.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, women, for some reason, we have this imposter syndrome, right? Where we feel like you said, we're not the guy in the suit, right? Like, we can't be the CEO. But I think more recently, and as I talk to more women who own their own business, we're empowering each other, I think, right? We're
Mhm.
giving ourselves permission to, yeah, I am, the owner. I'm the founder. I'm the CEO. Like, this is me and I can do it. So it's like, I love talking to other women because we're all in this, like, I want to help you grow. How can I help you? Let's be successful together. Because I think for, the generations to come, it's going to be so important. And then, probably children, I have two boys, but, if I had a daughter, it would be like, when she becomes an adult, and it wouldn't be a question that she could be a CEO or not, right? So it's like, I wanted to get to that point where it's never been a whether I can or I can't. It's just I am, right? So I love talking to other women business owners, and helping cheer each other on and help us grow and succeed together.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think for me, really growing up, there were no women that I knew who were CEOs and running their own business successfully. They didn't exist in my world. I never saw them. It was always a guy in a suit. It's not that I was spending a ton of time with businesses when I was 10 or 15 or whatever, but
But the image, yeah.
the image was really strong because I just didn't have those people in my life.
Mhm.
Those weren't in my parents' circle of friends, and so I never had this understanding that a woman can run a successful business and call herself a C-level title
Yeah.
and it be okay. It just didn't exist in my world. And so the idea of it being okay just wasn't there. And so I agree. At this point, it's much more common than it was before, but it would be nice to live in a world where it isn't even questioned. We're not even
Yeah.
running numbers on how many female CEOs versus male, where it's not even an issue anymore, where we have to point it out. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I can't agree more. Okay, so one of the other things that I think is huge, not only being a female business owner, successful B2B SaaS companies that you're working with, but I think another huge accomplishment that we mentioned at the beginning is that you're writing a book. So tell me about the book that you're writing.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a long time in progress, been somewhat delayed by the pandemic and everything, but it is a collection of interviews with leaders and founders of SaaS businesses about their growth journey. Because what I was really interested in is, with when it comes to cloud software, I mean, there's over 700,000 options now, and even if you're just talking about, say, MarTech, there's over 200,000 options in marketing technology software.
Yeah.
So the question is, well, how do you create a successful business in this incredibly competitive landscape? How do you make it really? What do you do that's different than everybody else, and how do you succeed? And so really it's focused interviews. It is called Startup to Scale Up. And it is focused interviews with these founders and leaders who took their company from zero to their first 100K ARR. And really, what did they do different from other competitors that led to their success? And all of these conversations are really amazing because I start hearing patterns over and over about what leads to a successful software business or
Mm.
technology business. And it's just, I can't wait to share it with everyone out there because really these are the keys to success. These are the secrets to growing a company to over 100K ARR, which is a pretty solid milestone for saying that you're no longer a startup. You're kind of in the scale up phase now.
Yeah, and I think with the growth and the popularity of SaaS companies, I think this is going to be very timely because it
Yeah.
seems like there's more and more SaaS companies that are coming out, and by the time this podcast comes out, your book should be available. So we'll have to put a link in the show notes so people can check it out and order a book. But I think that it's going to be helpful for those SaaS companies who are in that startup phase, right? And getting to that next level in growth. And the experience and the conversations that you're sharing are going to help them get there just that much faster. So I
For
love that.
sure. Yeah, yeah. And it's also a great source of really good business advice because a lot of these founders were first-time founders. So they learned how to run a company by being on the ground and running it, really.
Yeah.
And so I think just there's some general great business advice for success in business, getting to that first milestone. You have a base of customers and you have a product or service that is needed in the world.
Yeah. Awesome. I can't wait to read it. I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, me too.
So, as we wrap up, I want to see have you give some like words of wisdom, some tips or advice for, SaaS companies, women business owners, or favorite quote you pick.
Wow, there's a lot to pick
No
from
pressure.
there.
No.
Yeah. So I'm going to give my best piece of advice for creating content out there. It's something I'm very passionate about, and I want to really impress on everybody. It's key to create content that is valuable, and don't just create a lot of content because that's kind of what you feel you might have to do.
Yeah.
So the key is creating content that is valuable to your audience and your customers, and ideally not giving yourself a whole lot of extra work. So
Mm.
I very much advise creating one piece of source content and then using that to create multiple, and I mean like 10 to 15 and even more pieces of content that are created from that one large source content file. I would recommend everyone start thinking about your content as what can I do once and then
Yeah.
repurpose in other ways, whether it's like a quote snippet or a shorter video cut of a longer video, a
Mm.
blog post from a podcast episode, etc. And start creating that content repurposing SOP, your
Mm.
standard operating procedure for every time we do a podcast episode. We're going to create these 15 pieces of content. I'm sure, Tori, you already have
Yes.
yours, but a lot of businesses haven't really thought that through, and they get on this sort of treadmill of having to create more, and oh, we have to be on social media, so we've got to do this and we got to do that.
Yeah.
So I think really key is reducing the load internally by creating, this is what we always do. These are these like 10 steps that we always do when we do this one thing. And then you can hand it off to a VA, an assistant, someone junior on your team to execute on. And you can get so much content created from a single piece
Mm.
that you can really lighten the load of content creation, and you can breathe a sigh of relief because you've now given yourself a month's worth of content from just one thing that you do. So I'd recommend all businesses start thinking that way so that they can generate a lot of content from a single piece. And we actually have a become a content machine, the conversion content system, this PDF that kind of walks you through the step-by-step of doing that, available to all your listeners as a free gift. You can go to our website. It's revvspark.com, REVVSPARK.com, and / Creative Visionaries with a hyphen in between. And there will be that PDF for you that walks you through how to do that so that you can much easily create a lot of content without it being a headache.
That is a phenomenal advice because you're so right. There's so much that one piece of content can be turned into 10, 15 more. I mean, just leveraging what you already have. So thank you for that, nugget of information. And if you haven't written that down, if you didn't write that website down, I'm going to put it in the show notes so you guys can download that because it's going to be huge. I think that a lot of people, business owners, whoever the listeners are, can take advantage of that opportunity and that great advice. So, Carly, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Is there a special platform, social media platform that you like people to visit? Just give us some information on how people can get connected with you.
Yeah, sure. You could always connect with me on LinkedIn. I am there most of the time, except when I'm targeting people on Facebook.
Yeah.
um, and you can also find me at my website, revspark.com. Like I said, it's RE with a double V, SPARK.com. You can always find me there. I'm available and always here to help with content, copywriting, getting the message across full funnel to your audience.
Love that. Thank you so much for being a guest. I'm excited I got to meet you and happy that we can share this amazing content.
Thanks so much, Tori. It's been great.
Thanks so much for listening to the Creative Visionaries Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, or share with a friend. Also, make sure to visit us online at creativevisionariespodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And stay tuned for more episodes to come. And remember, it's time to tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary.